Well, as you all can see, the holiday season's come a little bit upon us. I have already kind of finished up what I needed to do for the season with business. I finally did my last show, counted up my expenditures, counted up my sales for the year, kind of like I'd say, figured out what I might owe the government in sales tax concerning what I have, and that is something where it's all going good because I still have one more week to work in the school cafeteria, and then I'm going to get to have a break from working that job until after the new year. So I just decided I wanted to come on and just for relaxation and things, give a little tutorial on painting the Ukrainian Santas that I carved out. There's a little work that comes into this, and we're going to start out with some blue that we are going to use for the top of the hat, because blue and yellow are the Ukrainian colors. So I decided that would be how I'd paint the coat and the hat and all. So we're going to start out with a little blue on here to make out the hat. And I will tell you that this blue around the hat is going to have to dry before we put yellow around the ruffles, which we are going to do as well. And just to say that there's probably going to be another year when these can be out a little more to support some people in Ukraine. Not decided what I'll do with them just yet, but just to kind of be rather supportive and sympathetic to them, I have decided to kind of do this video tutorial on things. And so this is where we come about with the painting, and there we got the hat. I think I will try to focus the camera a little more while I do this other one, and we are kind of working on the hat right here, making it so it's going to shine a little bit, make it so we can see a little things as far as how Santa Claus is coming along. And so I'll tell you a little more as we work along with this, and there's going to be some time here that's going to be well spent to make it so it's going to dry a little more, and we're going to get a little done here, and we're going to demonstrate little things we're doing here. There's a few things about the holiday I'd like to mention while we're at work on this. I would like to mention the fact that all those reindeer heads that I made out of branches of fir and magnolia, the big ones, people think they're slingshots too much, and that kind of would just get a little annoying and cause there to be a question to have to answer over and over again. So I marked the prices on them way down and sell them for $5 a piece, and decided, even though it's my last show of the winter and couldn't sell them before Christmas, it just so happened that I've decided to put them up and to try to put them out to sell in the spring, because since they're kind of an outdoors type of thing for the spring, I know the springtime would be a good time to sell those. And do want to kind of make mention of how that even among my stuffed animals, there had been several I had marked prices down because they were made from an older pattern, and wanted to get all the ones from the older pattern sold, because I've got new ones from a new pattern that are going to in the new year be named after my niece Gwendolyn. They're going to be called Little Gwenny Pets. So trying to get all the old ones out to make room for the new. That's one thing that's been going on lately, and there's been a lot of business to take care of. Thankfully, we're getting it all done and getting it all where it needs to be. And so for that moment, I decided I'd come on and show what I've shown, share a little holiday season sales stuff. And since I need to go wash out the brush and maybe come back and do a few more steps after the Ukrainian Santas dry at the hat, I'm going to go ahead and stop the video and come back later to show you some more after it dries. As I want you all to see here, I have changed the angle of the view so that these can be sitting in a place where you can see them in front of the camera. And this is the point in the part where we kind of take a little bit of a tiny brush like I might find here and kind of paint the ruffle around the hat yellow. So that's the part we're going to work on now. It's kind of hard to envision it correctly, but here's how I've come along so far. Do think I'm going to get a little closer so y'all can see me paint a little bit. We kind of apply gentle little strokes to little places at a time. You want this to turn out well, and you want it to turn out neat, so we try to add on a little extra paint to where we can in the right places. And so this is how we got this to come along and make it so we can see a little work come into this buddy dude. And so we're gonna make it so he kind of has a little light and shine in him, and to where we're gonna kind of get the ruffle in here to show a little work as to how we do him. I always was taught in school that when you paint a picture, it's best to use the bright colors first, and and to kind of let the darker colors wait till last. But it can be a little different when you're painting a carving, because you kind of have to try to get everything in the right places. There will be moments when you'll have to come back and use certain other colors again, and you'll have to do touch-ups in places where the paint got out of line. So that's how we got little Grandfather Frost done. Or I'm trying to say Ukrainian Santa done here. Other words, you could also call him Hospodar. There has been a time when sometimes a certain Santa Claus in Ukraine has been called by the name Hospodar, and I have one of those that I carved that comes from a pattern of a book called Carving Santas from Around the World. It's in different colors than this, but I decided to paint this one in the Ukrainian colors because as much as we kind of want to support a country that is in so much need right now and be there for them, we kind of use their colors a little bit just to try to be empathetic to them and show them how much we care. I'd say this little work, we've gotten along here now, and there was a little smudge of blue that got on the little ruffle a while ago, and I've had to take a little yellow to cover over that. And so we got little places we do our little things and make it so we see a little light shine in us, brighten our days, make us all good, happy people that see the light of day. And so it's all going to come down to what it's going to be. I think I will stop the video a little bit just to go rinse my brush out. Now there comes this moment where, since there's not much touching on the yellow that is required here, we can go ahead and take a little flesh acrylic paint and paint in the face, as you're going to see me do here. And you do apply, again, little gentle strokes so that you don't kind of mess it up too much, get it much in the way of anything else. And so we try to get some paint on the brush, and this is the point where when we come down to the face, as you can see, it's hard to tell with the light the difference between the paint and the basswood, but once it all gets painted completely, it's going to be much easier to tell how it is and what the difference is and what it's going to be like in the end with it all. And so I say a little work is coming this way and making it so we see little Ukrainian Santa as he's going to turn out. And up close you can probably see a little difference, and we're going to paint the little strokes in, make it so that the face comes out a little bit better, and then see how it's going to be. And then there's going to be this little moment here where we're going to take the flesh paint and paint the other little face as well. I will tell you all that sometimes whenever I make my colors of paint, sometimes I mix colors a little bit to kind of make them in certain colors as they're going to be, and sometimes for the peach and the flesh paint I'll kind of do that a little bit. And there's been times in the past I've done, you know, little Santas of darker colors on their skin just to be Santa Clauses of other different ethnic backgrounds. And so here you can see how we're coming a little further along now. There's little steps we're taking here to try to make it as best as we can. Oh, I say a little work in this life, it all comes down to being a good little thing we want it to be. And finally, here's what we have. I'll need to mention, above all other things, that of course these little faces and ruffles will take a while to dry, but we'll eventually get around to getting out some white paint and coloring the hair in the back, maybe even the beard as well. But this is all stuff we'll just have to do eventually, kind of let it come on its own time and in its own way. So I'm going to stop the video for now and be back in a little bit to show you all some more steps. Well, I do come on now just to try to share a little more and to say a little more, and to give you all a moment in which I will work on, with a little white paint, these little backs of heads, the hair of these little Santa Clauses. And I'd say this little work is going to make its way into us now. You see, here's the back of the head and the hair, so we're going to try to put a little paint onto this, make it so his hair goes all around, and see how old Santa's gonna be. And when it all comes down to this, we got a little place to put in a little work, and this is what it's all gonna come down to be when we finish in the end. I say that, look, I tell you what, I got this work much done and got to put a little bit more into the hair of the head here and work my way into it, so it's gonna come a long way. And so I say, as for a little work to come, we kind of got to put it all in, make it so that this little Santa Claus from Ukraine is going to come out as a good piece of work to us. I think I got a little hair in the paint there, and so we kind of got to remove that. And then this is where he's going to come along eventually up to this little bit of work here now. And so I say this is where we come along with him to make it so a little work shall come out. I'm gonna finish painting here, finish with this work here. Gotta move the little jar up a little further up the table because it was about to fall off and cause little paint stains on the rug. Don't need that at all. So I say little work shall make its way into old Ukrainian Santa. I'd say we got a little paint on the back of the head here too. And so when we work along on this, we're going to come by to see a little more. It's all going to be a little good and make a little sense in the long run when we all come down to finishing these last little steps, I say. And so I say that little work shall make its way to us and see us in the light of day, in the light of the evening. And so as for a little work, it shall come its way into us and make us see a little brighter days in us. And I tell y'all something, people, we all know a little work shall be good to us in the long run. It shall make us all happy, good people for who we are, what we know, what we need. I say we got the work to come along right, and then this is how it's going to be. We're going to get it all done here in the end, make it seem like Santa Claus is making its way down to us. We also know there's a Santa Claus at the North Pole too. I've always heard all these stories about that. Sorry, I kind of got a little angled off there, but I mean, I tell y'all that there's just so much we read and hear these days. There were some Christmas specials I didn't watch that much as a kid, but kind of see them on YouTube now and do a little wiki search on them, learn a little more about them and how they go, how they work, how they see things in the light of day. As you can see, I finally got the work to come along here. Finally got the paint to make its way around, and then I'll tell you all something, people. I'll try to work on this one in a little bit better view, at a little bit of a better angle where you can see me painting it. And so that's where we come here with the beard along the side, on the side of the Santa where the little goodie sack is, and paint along here to make this other little line across here. And see, this little work is amazing. I like to think how these days, it's interesting to me how seems like I'm getting a little bit better at painting carvings than I have been. I guess I'd say I'm being so careful because I'm doing it on video or something like that, I guess. Maybe that's why I'm gotten so much more careful and cautious and seem to be able to be keeping it as good between the lines as it needs to be. Maybe I'm just getting to where I'm learning to be a little more careful here or something. Because I can tell y'all one thing for sure, I could never paint in 2D, but I guess I can paint in 3D. And so, as for the work, he's coming along fine. And I have a feeling this may just take a few days, you know, it may not take long at all. And I say little work shall make its way to us, you know. But what I was about to say about Christmas specials from when I was a kid was, I didn't watch that Frosty the Snowman once, except maybe one time, but there was that little girl Karen in the film, and whole thing about how, you know, they were trying to take Frosty to the North Pole, and Professor Hinkle followed them around trying to get the hat, and how, you know, he took her into the greenhouse to warm her up. Frosty thought he'd lose a few pounds in that greenhouse, and Professor Hinkle locked them in, and so he could get back the magic hat. And of course Santa showed up, and, you know, and brought Frosty back to life, and told Professor Hinkle he'd be on the naughty list forever if he touched the hat again. So Mr. Hinkle went home, wrote some lines like Santa told him to do, and finally woke up the next morning, and Christmas morning, and he found himself a new hat, which I learned from what I watched in the little wiki article, that in the credits, that's what's shown at the end, that he's coming back in the hat. It's a good thing I'm getting this painting finished up here, because I do want to say I hear my parents upstairs, and they probably came home with lunch just now. It's probably about time for me to go up and eat my lunch or something. So I finally finished the work here, got a little work done into this little Santa from Ukraine, and I will tell you I got a little smudge of white on the ruffle, but we'll go back and get some yellow to touch that up later. There are going to be little smudges to come along, but I will tell you, I guess I've gotten better at avoiding them than I used to be. So that's how that works. So I thank you all for watching again, and hope to see you come back in the future.